few videos ago, I showed you all how to add a pop of confetti to your Braze in-app messages. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll link to that below. Turns out some people thought that video was pretty cool and put it to good use. But you know what's even cooler than confetti? Godzilla and advanced confetti tricks. Trust me, that will all make sense by the end of this video. So for those of you who do dig confetti as much as I do, I did a live workshop on all the options and hacks over on my Twitch channel, and I thought I'd share that here as well for all you confetti lovers. Speaking of which, be sure to go follow Minimum Viable Pizza over on Twitch because I'm looking to build a community of people just like you so we can chat about marketing live. Now by the end of this confetti video, you'll be able to create snow confetti, text confetti, blasts of confetti, and even Godzilla's flaming fire as confetti, all using the same basic confetti function from my previous video. All right, enough intro, get ready to confetti. So I'm here in Braze. I'm inside the in-app message drag and drop editor. I've set up a little test message here in the middle just so that you can see what's happening. I'll test that from time to time, and my code's over here in the corner basically, and all I've really done here, I just have a text block here in the middle, and then all I've done is drag one of these custom code blocks into the bottom. It's just in here, and that's where you're seeing this code from. Like if I click up here, you'll see this is the text. If I click down here, you'll see this is the code, and there's actually a button up here to enlarge the code area, which is what I actually do to make this bigger. So essentially what's happening here, this is just a basic JavaScript here. It's actually pulling from a CDN, which is what's called a content delivery network. So it's basically all the work's done somewhere else, and we actually pull it in with this line here, and then this function here, it would normally look like this. It's just confetti with a close bracket, open bracket. That's the function. That's actually what runs this confetti and says, hey, when this message pops up, I want this confetti to come out the top. And I've already had some people use this. It's really super cool, so I'm glad that was helpful. Now what we're going to do tonight to get this cracking, you actually got to put some curly braces in the middle of that, because I'm going to help you guys work out all the cool things you can do with that. And I'm going to hit enter a couple of times, but it's anything we write in between these curly braces is actually what is going to make this behave differently to what it already does. I'm going to start with something we can put in here called particle count. So you probably noticed when I run this confetti, I'll just run that again for you. You can see there's a certain number of pieces flying around. If I go back here and I will put in particle count, and then we can put a colon, and after that we tell it how many particles you want. So say I put 5 in there. Now I'm saying when I want that to run, I only want 5 bits of confetti to shoot in the air. And basically this number's somewhat unlimited. So check this out. So we can only see 3 there. The others might have actually been in gray, so therefore you couldn't even see them. So if I change this to 20, for example, you say I want 20 bits of confetti to fly in the air. It's simple as that, right? Now, this number is essentially infinite, which is really cool, but if you read through the documents, there's actually a lot of maths that's gone into making this work. So therefore, if you make this number too high, you can actually end up slowing down the system. So if I put in 100, and imagine you're launching this to people who need to see this. I put in 100 and preview that. You can see there's a lot more confetti there, but you can see it's starting to struggle a little bit. Now, let's just to be ridiculous, because, I mean, let's be honest, I mean, where would we be if we're not having a good time? All right, so I'll make this 1,000. Now, you're going to notice that this really struggles. So if you are in a situation where you're using this in anywhere that uses JavaScript, in my case, I'm using in Braze for a marketing purpose to delight people when they see this message, you might find that it actually, when it delivers to them, it's actually going to slow down. So if you check this out, a lot of confetti, and it's working in this situation because I'm testing it, but chances are if you ran that for someone inside a message, they might have trouble getting that delivered. And just to prove my point, I'm going to put 10,000 in there because I know we like enjoying ourselves when we do these things. There you go. You can see that's actually starting to struggle. But in saying that, there's quite a cool effect there that you might find a way to use. And you'll see later on that I have a few things lined up. I found quite a unique way to use some of this confetti to build out things that are not what you expect with the confetti. All right, so that's particle count. So that's the first thing we can put in here. Now, angle, I'll put this back to, let's say I put this back to 10, the particle count. I think it defaults to 10. Now, if you're going to add multiple things in a row, what you actually want to do is you want to put a comma after, in between these curly braces. You put the first one, colon, and the number, you put a comma, and then you can put the next one in. So for example, here, I'm putting in angle. Now angle, what it does, it actually, so if you think like 90 is this, is vertical, and then 180 would be like a full spread, 360 is a full circle. So you just think about degrees like you would like on a compass or somewhere. 0 being all the way to the right. So if you made this 0, it would be all the way to the right. So if I put 0 in, just to show with it, so we've got a spread, I might put 20 in here just to make it a bit clearer. If we run this now, you'll see I don't know if you guys saw that. It actually just basically just spat the confetti out to the right of the screen. I'll run that again for you just so you can see it. Just check this out. See? So by 0, it's saying, I want it to go 0 degrees. You notice the confetti spreads still a little bit. We're going to get to spread in a second, but it's actually shooting out to the right. Now, if we took that, and now if I change this angle to 180 degrees, drop in there and check that out, you'll notice what it's actually said I now want it to shoot out the left. So it's the starting point was 0, which was to the right, which in that case is this way. And then I said I want the starting point to be 180. So now I've started on that side. So with that in mind, if 0 is all the way to this side and 180 is all the way to that side, if I make this 90, which I'm pretty sure is the default. So if you didn't write angle in here at all, this would be 90. And you did preview, it should come out the top. There you go. So basically that allows you to determine where you want this to start. Now, I guess then if you want it to come out the bottom, if we go 0, 90, 180, 270, in my opinion, should be going down if I've got this right. So you can put 270 in here. I've left the particle count at 20, just so you guys are aware of where that's still at. Confetti from the bottom, look at that. So if you had a very specific use case where you wanted to shoot it from a certain corner or you wanted to shoot in a certain direction, then angle would be the ideal for that. I'm going to put it at 90, which is the default. I'm just going to leave it on the screen though, so you guys can at least see all these things. But I might actually put a comment here. 90 is the default. Just so 90 is the default. Just so you know that even though I've written 90 in there, if you didn't put angle in at all, that would still work. And I can show you that just to test that straight at the top, as we'd expect. Now, so that's angle. So particle count, it's the number of confetti you want to come out at a time. Angle is the direction you want them to come, 0 being the right. Then we have spread. Now, spread's a cool one because I'm actually going to paste this whole thing in with the comment as well so you can see. So the spread determines, like, let's say we shoot it out vertically, it determines how wide we want it to shoot out from that point. So let's say this, think of 0, you would actually just be shooting a single straight line. So the spread in degrees, so plus or minus 22.5 degrees is what it actually says in the documents. And 360 makes a full circle. So that plus 22.5 degrees is basically saying that whatever figure you put in, it's got a bit of room to move either side of that, because that actually makes the confetti seem more natural. So let me put in 0. Just say we want no spread whatsoever, and we've left this at 90, so it's going to shoot straight up. And then if I test that, let me just go again. See, it's a vertical line of confetti is what we're getting now. I'll show you that again in case you missed that. You can see, so the spread is 0. So you notice the confetti wiggles a bit as it comes down, so there is a bit of wiggle room on either side of that, but essentially it's running in 0 degrees at that point. Now, if we go back and we go, okay, let's go for like a spread of 10. You'll notice this will go back to very similar to what you used to, just a little bit wider. Now with that in mind, what do you think a spread of 180 degrees will do? If we think that we've got 0, 90, 180, a spread of 180 should essentially mean it'll take that confetti and shoot it out across 180 degrees, which could actually give a really good effect. So we'll test this. We've got 180 now. Now it's a little bit harder to tell because I don't have much confetti in there, so I'm actually going to up this particle count now. So this is the number of pieces of confetti overall. I'm going to put 100 just for good measure, just so you can see what's going on there. It's going to be good. And it should spread out over 180 degrees. So that, we'll test that again. You'll notice it comes out. It'll come out of the center and see how it pops out and it goes out across about 180 degrees. Now with that in mind, if you had a situation where you wanted 360 degrees worth of confetti, like it to come out in all directions, it's as simple as taking this spread of 180, we just make it 360. That means we want it to come out all the way across the top, all the way across the bottom in a full circle. We'll test that now. Just to make sure you catch that. So it shoots out from a central point in a circle. And I can completely exaggerate that just to make sure it's really obvious. I'm going to say I want 1,000 pieces of confetti now. And then if I go back in there and I put that in there, there you go. That's a little bit more obvious. And you notice it still falls. It shoots out and then it still falls after that point. Go again. There we go. 100 pieces of confetti shooting out from the center of the screen. And that's all done with spread. So I think spread, I think it's about 45 degrees as the default. Like if I remove that line completely and just run that, it comes out like that. So it just comes out at an angle. Might be a bit under 45 degrees, but that's what the spread would be if you had nothing in there whatsoever. And 1,000 pieces of confetti coming out of there. Origin. Now, I'm going to leave this spread as 360 degrees, just because you'll actually be able to see this origin move around a bit better. Now, if we run that, you'll notice it comes out from pretty much around the center here. So I'll just do that again so you can see where that originates from. Around there, which is the origin. Now, if I go back here now, I'm going to put in this next line. Now, you don't have to use all these. I'm just leaving them all here. Got the origin X, so X-axis, so left and right, Y-axis, up and down. I'm saying I want it to be at 0.25 and Y to be at 0.4. From my memory, 0, I'm pretty sure was the left side of the screen and 1 was the right side of the screen. So you're doing decimals in between. I think 0 was the Y0 was the top of the screen and 1 being the bottom. So just to test that, if I do X0, Y0 and we test that now, I actually think we should be seeing the confetti actually coming out of, yep, the top left corner. Do you see that? We'll go again. So we've got top, so it's basically going, this is the origin X, let's say X is left and right, X0 here, and Y0 is here. Now, if I, with that in mind, if I go back in now and look at this origin of where I want my confetti to come from, and I make X1, which is the right side of the screen, and we make Y1, and if Y is 0 to 1 top to bottom, we should now be seeing this should be X1, Y1 down in this bottom right corner, if that makes sense. We've said we want it on the other side, down the bottom. Now we'll do that again. Boom, there it is. So if you don't put in any origin values whatsoever, it's assuming 0.5 for each of those, which is halfway between 0 and 1. It's going to assume, I'm pretty sure it assumes the center of the screen. An easy way for me to test that is just to take that out, run that again. There you go. So it's ending up in the center of the screen. So with that in mind though, it means then you can actually position your confetti now anywhere you want. So if 0 is the top of the screen, say for the Y value, I might say I want it just below the top of the screen. So I'll put in 0.2. And maybe if the X value 0 is the left, Y is the right, maybe I'll still keep that, you know, maybe I want it just off center to the left. So I'll put in 0.3. I've come in, let's put it in markers. I might say it's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6 across to 1. So I would be expecting this now, 0.3 and 0.2, to probably be like sort of top left, but not right on the hard edge. We'll do that again. You see that? It's originating sort of around here now. But what's great about that is you can keep playing with these numbers. You might have a use case where you might have some text there or something there that you want to use. And you now have a way where you can actually put that where you want it and actually have that confetti coming out exactly where you like. Now, what I might do, I might put them both back to 0.5, which is the default, but I'll leave them sitting there so you can just see them in case you're writing this down or following along. You can write origin down, and I'll put default is 0.5 for both, 0 to 1 are the values, something like that, just so you can see that. Now, another really cool one is, it's called Scalar. I don't actually know the exact reasoning for that word. I guess it's just the scale of it. So put that in there. And once again, I have a comma after all these. These commas are really important. If you don't put a comma, the thing you put after it won't work. The thing that comes next won't work. So in this case, if I put a scalar of 1, now scalar is the size of the piece of confetti themselves. So the actual square flakes and how big they actually are. Because you can play around this to get effects that you want. So if I put a scalar of 1, you'll notice this confetti is the standard size. That's what it's meant to be. So that is the default value. Now, if I put in scalar of 4, I don't know if it equates to exactly 4 times bigger, but you'll notice the pieces of confetti themselves just get bigger. See, look at that. And because I have 1,000 of them, they're pretty obvious now. Oh, actually, I might be at 100 at this point, am I? What are we running? We're still doing 1,000. So now we have a scalar of 4. And I mean, this number, you can essentially rev that up. If I make that 20, this is probably going to bog up the system. Someone's going to slow down, but you'll get an idea of how big this can go. But what's really cool about this, once I've done this, is how small you can go. Look at that. Oh, mind you, that's a pretty cool effect. Do you love happy accidents? I mean, that's essentially what Bob Ross was all about, wasn't it? Happy accidents. Like this is a happy accident. We've now got this. Honestly, that's actually really dope. I don't know what you guys think, but we've kind of gone in and just completely made some cool, super cool effect. The only problem with something like this, if you were delivering this in an app, or you were delivering this in an in-app message in a marketing program like Braze, for instance, you might find that it actually slows down on the user's computer, because I'm doing this all in test mode. It's not having to like render into someone's screen when they getting delivered that message, and you don't know what sort of machine they're running it on or how well it can run. But in saying that, you gotta admit, that's pretty cool. I think we've done all right, guys, you know. And all that I did to do that was I put this scalar number up to 20. Like, even if you removed everything else, I can even show you that as an example. Let's say we remove everything else from this and just make that scalar 20. We make that default confetti 20. We get this effect. You can make a really cool effect with default confetti and just using that scalar button. So that's only like 10 pieces of confetti, or 20 now. And you probably notice all the confetti, you might not have realized before, they're actually circles and triangles and squares, but you can't tell when they're so small. Now, if I put everything back, and I'm going to put in a scalar, I'm going to put in 0.1 this time. Now, if 20 was massive, I mean, you can probably guess now what 0.1 is going to be. It's going to be really small. And it can actually look pretty cute depending on how much you have. Okay, it just got me good. Where did that go? Let's try 0.5 in case I just couldn't see that. I think I nearly made it too small. We'll go back to 0.2. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's actually there. Let's try that again. It's actually there, but it's really hard to see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this particle count. I'm going to make that 10,000. So we've made the confetti tiny, which can be really cool, because I'll show you an effect later where you can actually make it white and use it as snow, which is probably really handy if you're coming up to Christmas time, for instance. But here's 10,000 pieces at 0.1. Do you guys catch it that time? I think you can just see that now. Let's check that out again. Here it comes. There it goes. So that scalar allows you to actually make it small. You might use this as, maybe you color it gold and use it as gold dust, for instance. I'm going to put that back to the default, which is 1. With 10,000 pieces is way too much confetti. It's going to bog that right up, but at least you can see what's happening there. That scale is actually changing the size, which is actually really quite cool. There's actually cool things you can do with it if you just keep playing around with it. A few really interesting ones to put in here now. We have flat. Actually, I'll show you the confetti again, just so you can see it. And I'm going to have it come out. I'm just going to have it spread, let's say 45 degrees. It should just be sort of coming out the top. There you go. That's your more standard confetti. And you'll notice as it falls, it kind of has this wobble. Let's call it wobble and tilt, which gives it the icons are wobbling and tilting, but it kind of gives it the feeling that it's actually drifting down and I guess blowing in the wind as it does. Now, if I put in this line, this is flat. And flat is what they call a Boolean, which means it's true or false. So you put flat, colon, and then you write true, or the default is false. Because what flat is saying is, I don't want the wobble and tilt. I don't want it to do this to look natural. Now, even when I was reading the docs, so like, why would you want to turn this off? But there might be cases where you find a really good use case where you just want it to shoot up and come straight down because that looks more natural for whatever you're trying to do. So it turns off the tilt and wobble. So now when I do this, you'll notice it'll shoot up, but they'll almost sit flat and just fall. And you notice it no longer looks like confetti. Isn't that really interesting? It actually now just looks like a bunch of shapes. You'll see there's circles and squares there. It just looks like a bunch of shapes falling from the sky now. It's a completely different effect when you turn off that tilt and wobble. So that tilt and wobble is actually what gives this three-dimensional shape when you're working with this. The default is false, but I can literally write false in here and it'll still work fine. If I go in here now, you'll notice the tilt and wobble is back. And suddenly it looks like confetti again. Isn't that amazing? Just by turning off that random wobble and tilt. Because natural confetti, as you know, you probably understand, actually just falls from the sky, you know, and blows in the wind and wobbles and does all the things. So it's pretty cool, that tilt and wobble. But it is really useful to be able to turn that off. I think in my example later, I think it's the fire. I've got Godzilla breathing fire that I made with confetti. I think turning it off was good because the fire looked kind of weird, tilting and wobbling. It kind of just looked like it needed to be flames coming out of a mouth. Now, start velocity, 10. This is how fast the confetti starts moving. So I'll just actually take that out just 1 sec. So you notice at the start, it fires out. So it goes psh, 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 psh. And I mean, that's the official noise for confetti, by the way. It's actually psh, psh. I mean, it's probably more like, you know, those party poppers? You know, have I got that right? I don't even know if I've got that right. But if I put this back in, the start velocity, now we're actually changing the component of the, we're actually changing the speed of that. I can't recall what the default is, but I put 10 in here. And see, it doesn't do the, it's almost like there's less air blowing that confetti out in the first place. If I put 10, the default might be closer to 50 from memory. So now where this could be cool though, is if you think about it, there's almost this waterfall effect that's happening. You could essentially almost set it up that maybe this comes from the top of the message and it kind of just falls over the top if you played around with this enough. Now, if I put this down, I'll put this down to 1, for instance. Make it very low. Now it all just falls out as a ball. There's no whatsoever. It's more of a, yeah, it's a straight blur. So I'll show you that again. Because it basically, essentially what we've turned off the velocity that it shoots out. Imagine like you've got a party popper and you pull the string and it shoots out and all the confetti comes out. You basically pulled the string and instead of that, it's more like I don't know, there's a tiny hamster in there and he's just kind of pushed the confetti out now rather than actually having the gunpowder or whatever it is shoot the confetti out. Now, conversely, if I put this to say 100, go the other end, wish I could remember the default, but it doesn't matter. Oh, essentially, at that point, we're almost firing the confetti into space. See, there's so much more when it comes out. It fires off the screen. Now, if you're anything like me, though, you probably noticed that 100 fired off the screen, so surely 1,000 seems like a reasonable figure, doesn't it? I actually reckon this is going to be the equivalent. You know when you're watching a movie and like they fire something and it goes up to the moon and it disappears and you just see it disappear out of the sky? And then maybe at some period of time later, you actually see that thing fly down, it lands back on the earth. It probably hits some kid on the head. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be a kid. It could be an adult. But you know what I mean? Like they kick something that flies off into space. All right, so we'll check that out. So I'm going to preview this now. How long do you reckon it's going to take to come back down? I reckon I'm probably going to see it in about 20 seconds. Let's go for it. No. Oh no, I think I made the number too big. I don't think it's working at all. Well, that's just disappointing. Okay, so if we capped out at 100, 500. I mean, this is one of the great things about this. I don't know about you guys. Just try things. Oh, there it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Does anybody actually think this is coming back? 16, 17, 18. No, there's a good chance we actually did send this into space. Maybe 1,000 was so high, it actually fired off so quick I didn't even see it go. Is this confetti coming back? The other thing that might be happening is this confetti is fired up so far, it's then spread out and it's actually falling outside of my message window. Mind you, I guess if 100 sent it out of the screen, 500 probably sent it out the roof of my house. So starting velocity of 500 quite possibly means that if you're putting this in a marketing message, for instance, and you want your users to see it, they're not going to see that for a long time. I'm just going 200 for a sec, just real quick. There it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tell me in the chat when you think this has come back. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm starting to question. 12. Is it coming back? 13. I don't know. 14, 15. Gosh. Oh, you know what's happening? You guys have probably already worked it out because you're smarter than I am. It fades away as it's falling. See? It fades away. So we shot it so high into the sky, it actually dissolved before it even came back into the screen. Oh. And you know what's good about that though? I've actually got a thing for that. So I've got our starting velocity. Ticks. Ticks is how quickly the confetti fade off. The default number is 200. Now it says in the documents this is an abstract number. So basically you can put anything in here you want and just make that up because it's kind of not mathematically equated. Now I can't remember if small or bigger made it go. So I've changed this to 50 because the default was 100. Okay, 50 makes it go away quicker. So therefore if we go ridiculous like 500 for instance. Is that disappearing? No. Now just to be sure, I'm going to make this 1,000. Then we're going to go back to our test. I'm going back to my 500 test again. You know when we kicked this to the moon? You know when we actually took this confetti and we sent it straight to NASA? We're going to do that again. And we're going to actually see when this confetti comes back in. If anyone wants to take a guess in the chat about when this confetti's come back in, I'd really love to know. All right. I'm going to guess this will come down in 23 seconds. So if you've got any guesses, now's your chance. Let's go. So you with me? Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Best game ever. 9, 10, 11. There. You guys see that? They were starting to fade out. So even though we set this, it was 11 seconds. Even though we set this ticks to 1,000 of how to fade off, it still nearly managed to fade off because we sent it so far to the moon. All right. Gosh, I love this game. This is my new favorite game. Start velocity and ticks using confetti. So hopefully you guys are still following along with this. All right. So that's ticks. We're going to put our start velocity back to 20. Just make sure that's, we're going to do our ticks as 100, which is actually we'll do it a bit below 100 just so you know it's working. If we test that, it should look like pretty normal confetti. Fades pretty quick. Actually, we'll make it 150. We'll make it fade in less time. We'll bump the velocity up to 40 and it'll just look sort of like normal confetti now. There we go. And I'm just going to reduce the number of confetti because it's starting to get a bit bogged down. So I'll make that 200. There we go. The two last ones that I'm going to put in, I'll put them in both at the same time just so you can see them both, is drift and gravity. So drift, I've put the comment in here already. I put the drift is 0. So this is, actually I've had to put a comment here. Always put a comma after your things. Otherwise the next one won't work. Drift, and that one should not be a comment. Drift, how to the side the confetti drift, positive right, negative to the left. So it's on 0, which means the confetti will fire out and it will drift down, but you can actually have it starting to move across, for instance. And we've got a gravity of 1, how quickly the particles pull down. 1 is normal gravity, full gravity is 0.5 is half, but you can actually go up. So let's start with the drift. So this is a drift of 0, normal confetti. It's exactly what you expect. It goes up and it drifts down. But let's say positive to drift to the right. So let's say we make this 1, for instance, because we have a breeze coming from the left of our screen and it's blowing the confetti across, because sometimes it gets windy inside your computer. Have you guys experienced that? A windy computer? Yeah. See? Confetti is blowing off to the left. Now, if I up that a bit more, you'll see, let's make that a 5. It's a strong gale. There's a strong gale inside the computer. You'll see this actually flies off to the left. Comes out, whoop, it's gone. It's a strong wind. It's gone. Like, you're not getting that confetti back. It's long gone. Now, conversely though, if I make this -5, what do you think will happen? Well, you'd be right. It will go to the right. So the wind's turned around. We've had a cool change come through and boom, confetti to the right. Now, what's cool about this though is you might have a certain example where you want the confetti to go in a certain direction or you want it to fade off in a certain direction. I want my confetti to fade off to the left slowly. I put in -2. There it goes, off to the left. Some cases it might be you want it to do that so it doesn't cover the text on your screen, for instance. I'll put that back to 0, which is the default, just so that that's where it needs to be. Gravity is how quickly it's pulled down. 1 is normal gravity. It's what we've been dealing with this whole time. 0.5, you'll see that the gravity will be less here. See how it's falling slow? It's still fading out because we haven't changed the ticks, how quickly we want it to fade off. But 0.5 is half gravity. 0 is no gravity. See, it shoots up and actually just stays wherever it stops. So the initial velocity, we can set the start velocity, shoots it up, but then it actually just stays there and fades away. So I don't know about you guys, but you can probably already be thinking about some pretty cool things you could do with this. But here's the one I thought was really cool. We can actually do negative 0.5. And now what you've actually done, you're actually reversing gravity. Watch this. Goes up. Just to make that a bit more obvious, what I can do is start that from the bottom of the screen, for example. We'll go back to these origins. Now, X we won't change. That's left and right. It's 0.5's in the middle because it's 0 to 1. But Y, top is 0, bottom is 1. So if I change Y to 1, this will start from it'll shoot out from the bottom of the screen, but then it'll make it really easy to see how this drifts up. Watch this. And then it keeps going up. Just like non-actual gravity. Non-actual being a tip. Look at that. Floats up, up, and away. Actually, I've just thought, you know, it'd be really cool is if you actually made these into balloons. So that would fire out and the balloons would actually float up. Now, funny I should say that because I actually have a thing in here about how to put emojis in here. If we can find a balloon emoji to put in there, I think we do shapes. Now, shapes, you can actually go in and say whether you specifically want it to be circles, triangles, whatever. But in our case, we want it to be text. And I think confetti.shape from text. So you're saying, I want the confetti to be a shape made out of text. And then we need another set of brackets and another set of curly braces. In there we say we want the text to be an emoji. So I'm going to go balloon. I feel like this is going to backfire on me, but that's exciting. All right. Got a comma here. Shapes, confetti, shape from text. Let me see. I'm not sure if this is going to work for me. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Can I just make tiny weenie balloons? If you make something like this and it ends up being that the shape is too small, for instance, go into the Scalar, this Scalar one, because that's the size of them. So some things when you print text, for instance, which is this confetti shape from text, and then you put in brackets, curly brace, what you want that text to be, you sometimes have to make this bigger. So let's say I make this 4. Do preview and test. What have I built? I'm just going to turn off this false flat. So I want this to be flat. I'm going to say true. Do that again. Oh yeah, I've made balloons. There they go. So I've stopped the wobble and tilt on them because I don't want it to look like confetti. I've said that I want it to be balloons. I'm going to actually put less. So particle count. Maybe we say we want 10 balloons, for instance. Maybe I want them to be quite big. So I'm going to make this Scalar 6. I want to scale them up to be bigger by 6. I want the shape to be confetti. Confetti shape from text. It's inside square brackets because it's an array. And here is a string, so it has to be in talking marks or quotation marks. And I've said I want a balloon emoji. And I've said the gravity is -5. I want the confetti to shoot out and then keep going up. And then, hopefully, live, we will have cool balloons. Look at that. Now, what I can actually do is also turn them off. Remember the ticks, how quickly they fade off? The default is 200. Let's just make this like 400 so they don't fade off. And then we'll scale these right up to 10. Got 10 balloons. Want them to go straight up. Look at that. Now, because I've scaled them quite large, you can probably see they're actually starting to get a bit pixelated around the edges. Just something to note. But it's it. We've taken confetti, we've reversed it, we've turned it into balloons, and now we have it floating up. Just how cool is this? I'm just going to turn this off for 1 sec because I've just got to go and find my other examples that I have. Now what I've done here, I've done a massive ski sail. Again, my HTML box is down here. I would actually suggest once you've worked out your code, I would go stick it in a content block, for instance, and put your content block in this message this is if you're in Braze, rather than your text, but it's okay. In this case, we've got a ski sail, so I wanted to create sort of a snow effect. I also wrote maybe lava, because if you made these red, it almost looks like it's firing out of the volcano. I've got 1,000 pieces. They're spreading out, 50-degree angle. There was one missed before. You can actually put colors. So if you have a hex color that you want to use, put it inside square brackets, inside an array, and you put it inside quotation marks, and you can put the hex value in there. And I'm pretty sure you can put multiple in there if you actually want to say, I want this color, and this color, for instance. 3 colors that would be in that case. The scalar is 0.3. I've made these really small because I wanted them to be like snow. And the ticks I made 250 so it didn't fade off too quick. Now you notice I've got it here. If I preview and test that, see, now I've got snow coming down across that entire message. I'll do that again. Hopefully you can see that. See, snow coming down across there. Now the reason I wrote all lava in here is I realized that if I think, is that red? Is that the hex code for red? Suddenly I've got red falling down there, but when I made the scalar, let's say 1, put this back to 1 and have a play with this. I was like, oh, now it looks like there's actually lava spewing out of the volcano. Sorry for the people in the town that live below, but basically that's just a great example. You can take like sort of one idea and rejig it a little bit and come up with some other really creative, cool things you can do. All right, so in this case, if I go down here, I've got my block of custom codes down here. This is confetti blasts. So in this case, I'm using a duration up here. You don't need to stress too much about this, but what I've got this is set to using the date and now time, a date and now function. I've got it so this runs for 30 seconds before it stops. If you want more information on that, you can just ping me about that and we can talk about that, or just put a note in the chat. And inside here, we've got, so every time this runs, we want the confetti to run from the left side. So I've actually got 2 lots of confetti running at the same time. So you've got confetti running from the left edge, confetti running from the right edge. So you'll see this confetti function that we were just working with is just here. But then the same confetti function runs a second time here. But the main thing to notice, the origin of this one is 1, which is the right side. And the origin of this one is 0, which means that confetti is coming from the left side. 7 from each, yep, blah, blah, blah. And then it keeps running down here. It keeps running in a loop until the 30 seconds is up. So if I test that, because you've won 100,000 Bitcoin, of course you have. It's, everyone knows that that's easy to do. You notice confetti blast. So it's now a cannon. You notice it's coming in from the left and the right. Now this is slowing down because there is so much confetti here, but you could put less in here and give this a really good effect that wouldn't slow down for people. But this was just kind of really to highlight this example. And you notice this will keep running now for 30 seconds because of the way I've set up that timer. So, I mean, that's probably too long for something like this. You could probably easily set it for 5 seconds, because by this point, the person's probably wondering, like, what does that text say underneath? What have I actually, what have I actually want? I can't even read it anymore. And so, it's there, it's finished, and it's fading out. Now, in this case, I was actually doing a Valentine's Day message, which could be something that you guys probably may want to use at some point. If I present that, I've got Happy Valentine's Day for someone who loves you. Again, I have my HTML block down here. All this bit's the same. I've stored all my values in this case inside variables, but you can literally write these straight inside here. So where I've put scalar equals 4, for instance, you would actually just put scalar colon 4, and that would work. I was just seeing if I could do this a different way with variables. So in this case, I've written for the shapes. I've wrote loved emoji. Loved emoji is saved as confetti shape from text. And I could literally put that line in here if I wanted to instead. So you can write it directly in there. I was just trying to clean this up a little bit. Now what this is doing, it's saying I want it to be the size 4 of the confetti. I want it to be in red. I want this particular font, because you can actually say you want a certain font family, especially when you're doing text. And I want the shape of the text to be the heart faces. I want them to be the size of 4, my scalar. And I also want a second lot of confetti from text with the word love. And I want it to be this color and this font family. And that's kind of what I'm trying to pull together there. And basically I was seeing if I could actually make words fall from the top of the screen. So if I look at this now, you can see that's loved emojis. Actually, it would be really easy to make that. If I go down here and I write flat true, so we're actually getting rid of the wobble and the tilt from before, you'll be able to see that a bit easier what's actually happening there. You know what I did? I didn't put a comma here. Been telling you guys to put commas everywhere and I didn't do it myself. We go again. See? Got the emojis and the love thing. And to some degree, maybe that even looks better. Go again. There we go. It says love and it has hearts coming down. So basically anything you can put into text, you can actually put onto here. I've taken that off again now and you should be able to see it's the same thing now, but it's just falling. All right. Now one last one for you guys, which is, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this one because it was a little bit tricky and I'm not convinced it would actually work in real life, but just to show you that there's something cool you can do with this. This is me. I mentioned Godzilla at one point. This is me doing Godzilla and seeing whether I could actually make fire come out of his mouth. If I go back to the presenting screen. All right, so I'm saying we're having a monster sale with amazing deals. I think the HTML in this case, I put the HTML here this time. The reason being is that's where I want the confetti to come from outside his mouth. So I actually tried to position it there. Now the problem with this though is that I did test this, and if the message size changes depending on the screen, this kind of goes out of whack. So I wouldn't recommend doing this, but it was more just to show you what was possible. In this case, I've got blasts coming for 5 seconds from the right hand side. I wanted them to look like a fire emoji, so I'm using this confetti shape from text again that we learned about to a fire emoji. I've got one particle going, but this one particle shooting lots of times because it's blasted 180 degrees straight to the left. I want it to spread out a little bit. I want it to look like this fire. Size 4, I want it flat equals true. I didn't want any of the confetti tilt and wobble. The starting velocity I adjusted so it looked like it was just spraying out like fire and wasn't just wasn't sort of coming out a bit random. Gravity was normal, and the fade off. Anyway, you'll see in a sec. Fingers crossed this works like I planned, because it's a little bit ridiculous. But at the same time, what are we doing if we're not having fun? Godzilla is a go. Look at that. You can't tell me that's not amazing. So we've essentially gone, just to show you literally what's happening there. If I take this out, right? Let's say I take that out and I write confetti. This is where we started. This is the basic code from the original YouTube video I had. If you want to go back and see that, we started with this. That's that confetti code. And then I replaced it with this. And look, you wouldn't even know that's the same thing, but it is literally the same confetti, just used in a different way. So just let your brain come up with all sorts of great ideas. I know there's probably some amazing things you guys could think of to do with this. And I wish you all the best with whatever crazy idea it is you come up with. And ping me anytime. I'd love to see you in the YouTube comments. Come and find me here. Next time I go live on Twitch, be sure to follow, get in the chat and tell me. Be sure to follow Twitch and get in the chat and ask me as many questions you want. Tell me how you're using it. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing. I'm always up for a chat. But yeah, just believe that anything is possible when you're doing these things. And I will see you guys again soon. So peace out as always.